they cannot, unless they're representing their client, you see? They have to be a real estate seller. They can't list property for sale. They have to be a real estate broker. I have had more lawyers in my class over the years because they want to get their real estate broker's license. They don't have to go through what we go through. They waived all the necessary hours, the 240 hours, the 16 credits. That's all waived for them. But they do have to take the broker's exam. So once they take the broker's exam, you'll see real estate attorney, then you know he is a real estate agent.
But if they're not, then they can't do it.
No. Yes.
A point on that, Michael, you cannot give an attorney, I believe, a referral fee unless they have a license in real estate.
I'm not going to answer that question. You can't give an attorney a referral fee
Correct,
unless they're licensed.
correct.
Unless they're your agent, then your fee. They can
Well, if they have a
charge.
license and they're agent, you can pay them, but my understanding is you cannot give an attorney unless they have a real estate license.
Yeah, I know, that's the truth. You know, I tell you, people always call me and ask me questions, and I said, well, how much you going to charge me? I said, $500 for 3 questions. So he says to me, isn't that awful high? Oh, you got 2 questions left. So, any more questions? Not $500 a question, though, by the way. All right. Now, believe me, I've covered rules and regulations with you. Is there anybody has any questions on the rules and regulations? Because if the state calls you on the phone and says to you, did he cover rules? Oh my God, did he ever? He covered everything from timeshare, didn't I? I covered transactional agents. I covered everything with you. I just went fast, that's all. All right, now, we're not gonna take a break. I have a speaker coming up here, and everybody knows him for one reason. He is a mummer. Now, doesn't everybody love the mummers?
Yeah.
And here we're looking at him. He's not going to play his guitar for us. We were going to do a little, I sing, I was going to sing. He was going to play the guitar.
Next time, next session.
Next Tuesday, he will play the guitar for you. He's going to be speaking on condos, okay? So, I want to do is let him introduce himself because every time I mispronounce his name, he gets upset. George, come on up here and take 10 minutes to introduce yourself. He's going to talk about auctions. Okay, folks? Let me get out.
Before I start, this guy is a gem. I think we should give him a round of applause. He's a hard acting
Maybe I'm not going to stop. What I'm going to do is very carefully. I'll tell you. Now, don't start, George. My left leg is numb. No, it isn't. I swear I don't really like the guy. He's my best friend. And I'm going to go very slowly coming off there. This is going to be fun. I wouldn't have missed this for the world. I said, when Jerry said, you're going to make it because you're handicapped, I said, I've been handicapped my whole life. What's this? I'm not even a golfer. I'm going to hit around to the back. You got it?
Caught on the wire. Take the mic out and stand.
Wow, we almost saw him go right on his ass. Okay, I'm George Cahill, originally licensed in 1978 for home agency up in Bustleton Avenue. If anybody remembers it.
I knew your name sounded familiar.
I've been around since then, different agencies.
Yeah, the mic's off.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Not really.
So I want to thank Michael again for being such a gentleman and a comic and keeping us all entertained. I'd like to talk about case histories, and I'm here to scare you today because I've been involved in a couple of recent case histories. So if you haven't had any complaints against you as an agent or as your broker, I don't know if your broker is here, he is. But anyway, when a complaint, I'm going back to consumer notices, I'm covering some of the stuff that Michael covered. When a complaint is lodged against you by the commission, they're gonna come in and they're gonna be looking through your file. And they're gonna interview everybody that's in the process in that transaction. So dot your I's and cross your T's is my advice to you. Because if you miss one thing in the entire transaction, guess what? You're gonna get fined or suspended or, revoked, even worse. So you cannot be careful enough these days with your transactions. We've had cases where we have settled, and this is the ironic part. I've been represented by an attorney on a person that filed a complaint against me, and this was like 10 years ago. They came in and this client of mine, I was acting in a dual capacity. Back then it wasn't even, you didn't have to disclose it. So I was on both ends of the transaction. So my seller, we did have seller disclosures back then, but one of the questions on the disclosure was, is there any legal action against you presently? And he answered yes, that he was behind on his mortgage and they were, in foreclosure. What he didn't disclose to me was that he had filed bankruptcy. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but as soon as your client, if it's a listing client, files bankruptcy, that control of the property is completely out of their hands. And therefore, this buyer that I have under contract, who is at the time a paralegal student, is taking notes through the whole transaction on me, on everything I'm doing. It's unbeknownst to me. So 3 days before settlement, this was a very fast transaction, like a 3-week transaction. By the time we signed the listing, agreement of sale, settlement. The title report comes in 2 days before settlement. I looked the title report over and it jumps out at me that the seller has now filed bankruptcy. So the alarm bells go off. Now, the ironic part is that the buyer by this time has her furniture moved out of her where she's moving from. The truck is loaded. She's ready to move into the condo that I sold her. And we find out that the deal is pretty much dead. You couldn't resurrect it. It's in control of the court once it goes into bankruptcy. So, she files a complaint against me. I hire an attorney, spend about 10 grand in legal fees. This is back, going 15 years, 20 years, I don't remember the date. But anyway, the ironic part is, I settled the case with the complainant and thought I'm off the hook, commission's out of it. The commission came in, interviewed, did all their due diligence. Turns out that the client, the buyer dropped the case against me. The seller's gone, they didn't really care about the seller. So my attorney called the real estate commission and said, we're done. They said, no, we're not done. You still have to come to court and go before the commission, even though the buyer wasn't going to testify. So the point I'm making is, be careful. It's not over till it's over. Even if your client drops charges, the commission still was going to bring you in. And I got off pretty easy. I got off with like $1,000 fine, but it could have been way worse. So that's one of my case histories. The second case history is,
I'm sorry, quick question on that. One thing I'm having trouble understanding, after all that was dropped and your information was withheld from you about the bankruptcy, did the commission say that you should have found out about it in some fashion if you were lied to? Like, how in the world are you being fined by the commission?
well, we didn't really get to the point where we actually went into Harrisburg in front of the, the panel. I just settled the case. But, our defense the whole time was it wasn't on the seller's disclosure. It was never disclosed to me that he was in bankruptcy. All we had was legal action on the seller's disclosure.
So the commission would actually fine you without?
Correct.
coming to a conclusion?
Correct. So you can't be too careful with your contracts. And talking about the seller's disclosure, like Michael said, you have to go line by line pretty much. And if you're laxed in one part of it, like not having all the parties sign it, you're really opening up yourself and your broker for shots. And by the way, when you're sued, or when, cases that I'm talking about that I've been involved with, they're not just going after the broker, they're going after you guys individually. So your E&O better be up to date, and you better make sure you're protected, and I'm sure your broker's gonna take care of you in that part of it, but they're not coming in and suing just the broker, they're suing the agent personally, and the broker, and everybody else involved. Go ahead.
So, what George is saying is it's very accurate, and this is why at HomeStar, we require certain things to be sent to the office. Because the stuff we're asking from the agents are the things that are on that checklist. And anybody, at any time, can file a complaint against you for anything. They're mandated for doing something. They'll file a complaint with the commission. The commission calls us, says, we got a complaint against this person, we need to see the file, I'll be here in your office at this day and time, if not, can I set up an appointment, I'll be there, and make sure you're available and have your paperwork ready. So when we say to you guys, we need to turn certain things in, it's not because we just want them, because at any point in time, anybody can get a complaint filed. So please understand that certain things have to be done for certain reasons. And once a complaint is filed, they'll do everything that George just said. They will investigate every party, simply me, the agent, the whole seller, the buyer, whoever's doing the complaint, and the other agency, and the other brokerage. And here's everybody's story.
And they are looking for, they are coming in literally looking for something you did wrong. So that's my point. You cannot be too careful in a transaction. I'm talking seller closing costs, buyer closing costs, and I don't know who does your compliance, but the compliance person is a pain in the ass in general to us, because to me, I'm like ADD. Sign, I'm out of here. But, it's vital that you have somebody making sure you're all in compliance. I don't know what you guys do in your office. Okay, so you do have somebody. So most agents probably hate this person, but she's looking out, she's covering your ass, so treat her with respect, because it's a tough job, and if somebody's not doing it, everybody gets into trouble. So,
George is exactly correct. Listen to him. You're not hearing it from us. You're hearing it from an outside person who doesn't even know who the broker of record is for HomeStar. He's telling you information that's exactly the same thing that we do in the office. Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. It's from experience, believe me. So I'm going to lead into the auctions, while we're on this subject of bankruptcy and foreclosure and those kind of things. First of all, in my opinion, I'm a licensed auctioneer. I had to go and take 6 weeks of training up in Reading, PA, with a bunch of hicks from up in, wherever they were from, selling cattle. I was only there